Hello again, YouTube. This is the Truth Man giving you the truth. And I was asked by one of my subscribers, Travis H. Shout out to you. Very encouraging brother. People should try that sometimes. Try to encourage people sometimes. I know my hair looking wild, but hey man, you know, that's a style nowadays. My hair look neater than some of these other people. But let's get into the subject matter. I was asked to give my take on the Dr.Umar Johnson and the Cynthia G debate. And here it is. So, I believe, based on what I heard, and I've heard both of them, and I know some of their views, apart from the debate itself, that as far as the debate, both of them were right and both of them were wrong in a sense. Okay, so this is how I look at it. So, yes, Dr. Umar Johnson, as long as he presents the arguments in terms of interracial marriage, I believe that if you marry interracially, then you're not the best representation of the needs of the black community. Although you have a lip, you have two lips, you have a tongue, you have a mouth, and you can speak, but you're not going to be the best representation because your interests will be divided, see? So you're not going to be able to explain black oppression to white people, especially well-to-do white people. Not only do they not care, a lot of them, they're not going to respond or understand, see? So we'll begin with Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson stated that you can't take away from the accomplishments, and he mentioned Denmark Vesey and others that fought for liberation. And he was right. Like, you can't take away from what's already been done, which is what Cynthia G tried to do in this argument, because she basically labeled Africans as black men. And, you know, I think Tariq and others have, Dane Calloway, many others, including myself, like I do research too, have made it clear that some of our ancestors were already here. Like, some of our ancestors were enslaved while on U.S. territories. You know, regardless of what the name of it was, they were enslaved back then. So for her to say that black men have worked hand in hand with white supremacy, that's just simply not true, other than them murdering each other in the street. That makes the white man more supreme. Black on black crime. When you get locked up, you get killed out here, black on black crime, you are contributing to white supremacy, but that's the only way that you contribute to white supremacy. Now, Cynthia G indicated that black women are double oppressed. That is absolutely, erroneously, and tremendously false. It's not the same for us black men as it is for white or for black women. I mean, we see it day and day. Every day, every night, we see the differences. Case in point, all the funding that black women received from the government, and even if you want to go into the Black Lives Matter, would she have been so successful had she been a black man? I think not. I think not. Now, black men are oppressed by many groups. Like, we are included in everything last. So for her to say that we contribute to white supremacy, like I said, other than that particular way, the black on black crime, we don't contribute to white supremacy. White supremacy contributes to us. And it's not an excuse. She said a victimhood. You got many guys that's not using it as an excuse, even here on YouTube. But the facts are the facts. And the fact is that when you look at the treatment, even by the black woman in a relationship aspect, we as black people are the least married and the highest divorced. So that's another point that I agree with Umar on, in terms of that the hatred amongst the groups, like, I believe is more one-sided. Like, I believe that most guys, and I can't speak for everybody because a couple of them probably do hate black women, but I believe that most black guys that's in this manosphere that watch the videos, super chat, even make videos, I rarely see that they hate black women. I don't believe that they hate black women. I believe that most of them are wounded and just protecting themselves. Like, think about it. If you've been divorced already, or you facing a divorce and you did your research, you already know what you up against and what you may lose. So yeah, I mean, all you gotta do is go on TikTok and you'll see the hatred towards black men. Cynthia G really didn't make many points other than, like I said, that one point that we contribute to white supremacy when we murder each other over petty things. But other than that, black men don't contribute to white supremacy. I see black dudes fighting white supremacy, and I see it playing out when I work even at the detention center, how a lot of times the white kids, they made sure they got out no matter what they did. But the black kids could have did the same thing, and they either get sent up to boys' state school, or they can't go right home right away. So yeah, white supremacy does exist. And by the way, in case you wonder, nothing against any foreign groups, but most of them are labeled as white, and most of them will check white when asked their ethnicity, and they have more businesses than black people, black men in general. So yeah, me personally, I think that we need to spend less time talking about these things and figure out how to get the resources, which is a point that Umar made. Now, in terms of what Umar said, I really think that he presented his arguments, and I really can't really disagree with many of the things he said, if anything, other than I think at this point, how black people treat each other. If you want to marry somebody white, it ain't nothing wrong with it. But just remember, like, from a logical standpoint, you ain't going to be the best representation of what's needed. And she said that black men were just trying to get to white women. That's not true. As far as the civil rights movement, it was necessary. They didn't know what they should fight for, and Martin Luther King even came back and said that he made some mistakes. But we did get some rights through the civil rights movement. So if Umar Johnson, and I haven't heard him say certain comments, but I do believe she kind of taken out what he said in the past out of context in terms of the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was necessary, but they should have continued the fight to be able to be free of the violence that was carried out against them, and be able to segregate without being forced to, like voluntary segregation. So that's really what they should have fought for, is voluntary segregation. So for Umar to say that, it didn't really accomplish what was needed to be accomplished, yes, it did. But there was more things that needed to be accomplished after that. Now, if you make that argument, then yeah. But the civil rights movement did accomplish something. It didn't accomplish everything we needed, but it accomplished something. So I believe that they both are right about some of the things they said. I think that they both are wrong about some of the things they said. And I think Cynthia G is wrong about most of the things she said. And in fact, she shouldn't even been on that panel because she hates black men. So you can't, and that's another thing I agree with Umar, you can't really discuss these things with people like Cynthia G, because Cynthia G went on record as saying that all black women should abort black male babies. So why are we even talking to her? Until she clarifies and gets rid of those statements, she shouldn't be on these panels. She doesn't have a voice. And especially, I want to know, Cynthia G, I want to know who you had sex with. You say that's none of your business. I want to know if any of those guys were white. Because you can't make statements about killing black babies, then get smashed by white men, and then turn around and be on these panels. You shouldn't have been on the panel to begin with. You shouldn't even been up there. If you smashed any white dudes in the last year, coupled with what you said about killing black babies, you shouldn't even been there. And I will cook you anytime, any place. But my rules are, you make your point and you be quiet. I make my point, then I be quiet. Because if you really believe all that stuff you said about Dr.Umar Johnson and black men in general, then you can prove that after you hear the other person's points. So I believe and I know that Dr. Umar kind of won a debate, but he didn't win a debate like I would. I'm just being honest. I would have tore off into her respectfully. See, when people present viewpoints, you got to ask questions related to that viewpoint. You got to get them to prove their way is the way of truth. And I can prove that Cynthia G's ways ain't the way of truth. I believe that in terms of white supremacy, I don't think it's as strong as we make it, but I think they do oppress black men in a limited fashion and a changed method. They changed their methods. Now they use us against each other. They'll use rappers, they'll use celebrities, they'll use little secret, sinister people tied to sinister undercover groups to relay and convey the messages that they want to send, which are, as always, that we less than human. To some of them, they just saying it in a different way, and we can rise above it now, but we can't rise above it in a swift fashion if, like he said, we got these panels with people like her on it who you can't even talk to. They're not, what's the word for it? They are irreconcilable. The Cynthia G's of the world are irreconcilable. And like I said, Cynthia G, I want to know what you're doing with these white guys. I want to know, did anybody put you up to the things that you say? I want to know your civic ties. Those are the things that I want to know. Because I believe that you are tied to agencies. I'm not going to even name them. And you're accusing Dr. Umar Johnson, who I don't know if he is or not, but you're accusing him of what you are tied to. Because if you working together with any of these groups, then you're helping white supremacy. So yeah, both of them, in terms of interracial marriage, I don't think it's I used to be one of the ones that thought it was a problem until I saw for myself the betrayal and the deception and the evilness of some of us. Now, I don't believe that Umar Johnson makes excuses for black men, but I do believe that he needs to hold himself as well as other black men accountable more. I've seen him hold them accountable, but he needs to do it more. Cynthia G, she a lost cause. Until she elaborates on some of her previous comments, then she's really a lost cause. But for her to say that black women are double oppressed, that's not true. And for her to say that we want them to submit while basically doing nothing, that's not true either. That's not true. That's not true. In fact, the submission concept comes from the Bible and the associated books with the Bible. That's not something that the black man made up. That's something that has deep spiritual roots. So yeah, I mean, I could talk about it more, and I probably will. But that was my take on it, that they both made good points. But Cynthia G was mostly wrong with most of the things she said. Dr. Umar was right about most of the things he said, but he needs to do more in the sense of he does need to hold black men more accountable. And he does need to address what goes on the street. Because me personally, any of these pro-blacks, if they don't address what's happening every day in cities like my city, Milwaukee, Chicago, this, that, and the other, then you might as well be quiet too, man. Because black people are their own worst enemy. In families, at work, so on and so forth. So, you did say, Umar, that it's hard to get to the solutions with the hatred. I mean, the hatred runs deep, black on black. And it does need to be addressed. It needs to be changed. And all of y'all that's going to continue to hate, you need to step aside and shut your trap. Shut your pie hole. Anyway, this is The Truth, man. The channel is the No Matrix, No Simping, All Subjects channel. No Matrix, no getting on panels like you to answer, but yet you telling people to abort black babies. No not holding criminals accountable. He practically finna hit my car. What are you gonna say? Sorry? Ain't no sorry. But anyway, thanks for watching.